Who wants to go on a new bike day ride?
I do.
That's what I thought. Let's get started. So I actually bought this bike several months ago. However, due to various reasons, I couldn't make this video right away. Being a new dad, it's really hard balancing work, writing, and making videos. In fact, as I make this video, it's raining outside and it hasn't rained in Southern California for a long time. Therefore, I'm taking advantage of this downtime to make this video. To begin with, I bought this bike through Fanatic, an online store slash shop that has the most amazing CGI for making customized bikes. Essentially, you pick out the frame and every component. It's kind of like being back in the late 90s or early 2000s when you could custom build a computer through companies like Gateway or CyberPower PC. I felt like a kid making my first computer. Overall, it was a great experience and I really recommend it. However, you have to be mindful of the downside of buying online versus a local bike shop. First, you may not get the best fit if you don't get to ride the bike or try it out in person. Second, you need to have some basic mechanic skills to assemble the bike. If you're new to biking, I definitely recommend getting the bike from a local bike shop versus any sort of online dealer. The biggest reason why I wanted to get a new bike was because I got tired of the 27.5-inch wheels on my 2020 Santa Cruz Bronson. I got the bike during the pandemic because I was going crazy and I needed something to do. I didn't take the time to research or find the best bike. Plus, I didn't know anything about mountain bikes back then. The main reason why I wanted the 29-inch wheels is because I do a lot of long distance endurance rides, and the higher rolling resistance of the small 27.5-inch wheels was really adding up. When I received this bike, there was some minor scuffing from packaging and transit. Not a big deal. Assembly was relatively easy. Aside from having to realign the brake calipers, there were no major issues. Now let's talk about the bike itself. Since this is not a stock bike build and it's customized, I think it would be more appropriate to review the individual components and why I chose them. To begin with, let's start with the frame. So I chose the Ibis Ripmo V3 frame, and the primary reason is because it supports the 29-inch wheels, but it also lets you go to a mullet setup if you want. By using a flip chip, you can easily go back and forth between the two, and to my knowledge, there aren't many bike frames in the market that can do this. In addition, I think it's one of the best looking bike frames out there. And it features internal storage, a feature that I love because it lets me pack an air pump and all my tools. So I just carry water on my pack and that's it. Overall, I've had no issues with this frame and I strongly recommend it. Now let's move on to the fork. The fork is not the stock. The stock Ripmo comes with Fox fork. I went with the RockShox Lyric, something that I'm familiar with from my Bronson. I know how to set it up and all the features, and I just felt like it would save me some time. I did end up regretting this decision. I went for my first ride. I noticed there were some wet stains on my shoe. I assumed that it was just sweat. When I came back to ride, the stains were still there. I didn't make anything of it. At the third or fourth ride, the fork compressed unexpectedly on a brick berm at Black Mountain on Black Widow Trail. I fell really hard. My shoulder hasn't fully recovered. It still clicks. Anyway, that's when I put two and two together and realized that the fork was leaking massive amounts of oil. And that's why it had this catastrophic failure. It could have been a lot worse. I can't say for sure if this is a RockShox issue or something happened when they were assembling the bike. In the past, not with Fanatic, I have personally witnessed mechanics who rested the fork on the rebound knob while hammering in the star nut. And I know that the newest models, this can really damage the fork. So it's certainly possible that it may have been done at the shop when they were assembling the bike, but this is just speculation. I'm not accusing them of doing that, but it's possible. But I did reach out to Fanatic. They were really responsive. They sent the new fork before they even received the old one. I specifically asked, could you guys let me install the star nut? And so when I received it, I did that myself very carefully. The fork is not leaking. It's working really well, and I really love it. I think it's really one of the most plush forks that I've ridden. The next component that was a big deal for me was the drivetrain. I decided to go with the SRAM 90 derailleur and GX cassette. The biggest reason why I wanted this particular setup was because I really don't like battery operated components. I have a battery operated derailleur on my road bike, and sometimes, despite my best efforts to charge the battery, it still runs out on rides. It's not a big deal on a road bike with two derailleurs because you just swap out the battery front and the back. But on a mountain bike with just a rear derailleur and you're in the middle of nowhere, it could be really cumbersome if it does run out of batteries. If I ever do get an e-bike, I'm going to make sure that all components are plugged into the main battery. Having to worry about the shifter battery, the derailleur battery, this battery, that battery, it is just a nightmare, and I never want to deal with it. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But anyway, let's get back to the bike. So prior to getting the SRAM 90 derailleur, I had seen some videos where the reviewers noticed some phantom shifting and clicking. From my perspective, that certainly occurred as well, but only during the first 150 miles. I attributed this to the shift cable settling, which is a pretty common phenomenon. One thing that complicated the picture is that I live in Southern California where there's a lot of dust due to a lack of rain, like fine dust. And it seems to get into like the components, and regardless of which component I've used or derailleur, I noticed that when the dust builds up, the drivetrain starts to act funny and make noise. So it made it objectively hard to judge whether this was a derailleur or not, but I can't say with a high degree of confidence that the SRAM 90 derailleur seems to be more sensitive to dust buildup than the previous generations of SRAM Eagle. Fortunately, I was able to compensate by using Dumont Pro X thin formula, and that has been a game changer. It seems like the clicking noise has gone down substantially, no phantom shifting or anything like that. Overall, the new SRAM Eagle 90 drivetrain is working flawlessly right now, and I really enjoy not having to worry about a derailleur hanger bending. I don't have to worry about things getting out of whack if I have a minor fall or if it knocks against a rock or something. It's pretty substantial in terms of strength, and it takes something pretty bad to bend the derailleur, at least so far, knock on wood. Regarding the rear shock, I stuck with the Fox Float X factory series that comes with the Ripmo V3 frame. It's not as plush as the EXT shock I had on my Bronson, the EXT coil shock, but it works well enough. It's also a lot more playful than the EXT coil shock. And moving on to the wheels, I gladly upgraded to carbon. I'm not a big fan of inserts, and I like to ride fast down chunky terrain, so there's a lot of digging going on, minor impacts. With that being said, the carbon dramatically reduces chances of damage from my experience. Regarding how the bike rides, we've all heard the saying that the problem isn't the bike, it's usually the rider. Well, I can tell you that as far as climbing goes, this bike really makes things easier. I used to watch YouTube videos on this Ripmo, and everyone says it's a good climber, and I just thought it was some sort of marketing gimmick. But it's really accurate. The Ibis Ripmo is a good climber. Now coming from a 27.5 inch wheelbase to a 29, it's certainly possible that that's part of what I'm experiencing. However, I feel that my position on the bike lets me output a lot more power through the cranks. Anyway, as I mentioned before, even though the wheels are bigger, I find that this bike is more playful than my 27.5 inch wheel Bronson. So whatever formula Ibis is using, it works really well. I'm able to jump, skip much easier, to the point where I named the bike Vega after the Street Fighter character from back in the day. Now that I've got this new bike video out there, I can finally go ahead and resume making riding videos again. I just thought it would be awkward to start making videos with a new bike and not have an explanation. So that's been a limiting step as well in terms of putting videos out. I'm looking forward to sharing videos with you guys in the future. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.